This is India's #1 news network and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Hello and welcome. You are watching On Point here on News 9. I am Krishna Kumar and today we have 3 on points. 1.1 is on Tejashwi Yadav's threat to discard the Waqf Amendment Bill and put it in the dustbin. On point 2 is on the Supreme Court of India pulling up state governments and their inaction on its ruling regarding stray dogs and the menace that continues. And on point 3 is on Muhammad Yunus of Bangladesh gifting a controversial and illegal map of Bangladesh to Pakistani General Shamshad Mirza. So those 3 are the on points on the show. But before we get to all of that, here is a quick look at all the headlines. Phase 2 of the nationwide voter roll revision kicks off tonight, covering Tamil Nadu, Kerala and 10 other states and union territories. Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin terms this SIR as the NDA government's biggest miscalculation. Stalin says the DMK has urged the Election Commission to reconsider its decision. TVK Chief Vijay reportedly breaks down while meeting family members of the Karur Stampede tragedy victims, assures them of all help and assistance in addition to the funds that have been dispersed already. Supreme Court of India set to frame guidelines on social media glorification after the shoe hurling incident targeting Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai. Prime Minister Modi speaks to Andhra Pradesh's Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu on Cyclone Monta's impact. The Prime Minister assures full central support amidst the cyclone threat. The Supreme Court of India expresses concern over rising digital arrest scams, says the CBI is capable of a nationwide probe, issues notices to all states. And we begin with our on point 1, which is on RJD chief and the Mahagathbandhan's chief ministerial candidate Tejashwi Yadav and his latest controversial remarks on the Waqf Amendment Bill in the lead up to the Bihar elections. Tejashwi Yadav, India bloc's chief ministerial face, has triggered a raging controversy over his remarks that if his alliance comes to power, the Waqf Amendment Act would be thrown into the dustbin.
और आप लोगों को बता देना चाहते हैं कि सरकार बनेगी तो वक्फ बोर्ड का कानून का जो बिल है उसको पूरे दान में तेजस्वी फेंकने का काम। और तेजस्वी जब मुख्यमंत्री बनेगा तो बेरोजगारी से लड़ाई लड़ेगा। जब तेजस्वी मुख्यमंत्री बनेगा तो पूरे बिहार के 14 करोड़ को सीएम बनाने का काम करेगा, यानी सीएम मतलब चिंता मुक्त।
Tejashwi Yadav's Waqf Bill remark has generated strong criticism from the opposition, NDA's leaders in Bihar.
जो तेजस्वी यादव ने कहा है कि वक्फ बिल जो अभी एक्ट हो चुके हैं फाड़ के फेंक देंगे अगर वो सत्ता में आया, तो उसको इतना भी समझ में नहीं आता है क्या कि पार्लियामेंट में जो बिल पास होते हैं वो देश भर में लागू होते हैं और राज्य सरकार वो बिल को या वो एक्ट को फाड़ नहीं सकते हैं। अपने आप को मुख्यमंत्री पद का दावेदारी देते हुए इतना भी उसको ज्ञान नहीं है कि मुख्यमंत्री स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का क्या अथॉरिटी होता है और हमारे संविधान में क्या लिखा है उनको नहीं मालूम, तो फिर वो स्टेट कैसे चलाएंगे? वो तो अफसोस की बात है। तो ये आरजेडी वाला, कांग्रेस वाला बताए कि वो संविधान को मानते कि नहीं मानते, पार्लियामेंट को मानते कि नहीं मानते। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जिस एक्ट को वैलिडेट कर दिया, फिर वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट को भी नहीं मानते, लोकतंत्र को नहीं मानते।
देखिए, ये जब बनाया गया तो हमारी पार्टी ने भी सुझाव दिया था कि जेपीसी बनना चाहिए। जेपीसी बना और जेपीसी में सब लोगों ने सुझाव दिया और उसके बाद उसको रिकमेंडेशन के साथ इसको पास किया गया। कानून जब भी बनता है, कोई भी कानून, तो संविधान की बात जो लोग करते हैं, तो कानून है, उस सब पे लागू होता है। तो इस तरह कोई कानून यहाँ फेंक देंगे, वो कर देंगे। और वो पर्पस तो यही था ना वक्फ का कि वो दान के लिए दिया गया और उनके उस समुदाय के इंटरेस्ट में काम। वो सही, इसमें गलत क्या है? वो मौका उनको आएगा नहीं जो कानून को फेंक देंगे।
सोशल जस्टिस इनका सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपने परिवार के जस्टिस तक सीमित है, सिर्फ और सिर्फ वोट बैंक तक सीमित है। जिस तरीके से राष्ट्रीय जनता दल जैसे दलों ने समय समय पर समझौते करने का कार्य किया और हर बार एक बात को प्रमुखता से दिखाया कि इनके लिए सामाजिक न्याय की परिभाषा सिर्फ और सिर्फ इनका एक परिवार है और कुछ नहीं। अगर कभी भी मौका मिलेगा किसी पिछड़ा वर्ग से बिहार का मुख्यमंत्री बनने का इनके गठबंधन से, तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ इनके परिवार का सदस्य होगा। इनके पिताजी होंगे, पिताजी की गैर मौजूदगी में इनकी माताजी होंगी और अब दोनों की गैर मौजूदगी में बेटे को किसी भी तरीके से इनको सत्ता के शिखर पर लेकर जाना है।
Whereman, Waqf is non-transferable religious property under Islamic law that cannot be sold or repurposed. The Waqf Amendment Act passed by the Parliament in April has been hailed by the BJP-led NDA as a measure of empowerment of backward Muslims and women. The opposition, however, has criticized it, alleging that it infringes on Muslim rights. In September, the Supreme Court temporarily stayed provisions granting district collectors powers over Waqf properties and requiring 5 years of practicing Islam to create a Waqf in the first place. The court also capped the number of non-Muslims on the Central Waqf Council and state Waqf boards as well.
मेरे भाई, ऐसा है, महागठबंधन तीसरे नंबर पे है, लड़ाई एनडीए और जनसुराज के बीच में है। अब कुछ भी कह दें, पिछले 5 दिनों में अगर आप तेजस्वी यादव और महागठबंधन की घोषणाओं को देखेंगे तो उसका कोई सिर पैर नहीं है। कुछ भी कह रहे हैं, इसलिए कह रहे हैं कि चाहते हैं कि रेस में आए, रेलेवेंट बने। कोई ट्रैक्शन नहीं है, कुछ देखने वाला कोई नहीं।
Now, with just days to go for the Bihar Assembly elections next month, Tejashwi Yadav's remark is being seen as a big attempt to appease the Muslim vote. But how sizable is the Muslim vote in Bihar? Let's now get the people involved in this conversation on what exactly is Tejashwi Yadav looking to do. Let me begin by bringing in Manish Bariyar, spokesperson of the BJP, Advocate Mahima Singh, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Mrityunjay Sharma, author and political analyst, Advocate Nikhil Jain, political analyst, and Smita Mishra, senior journalist. Thank you, all of you, for taking time out to be with us here on Point. Let me begin by asking Manish Bariyar of the BJP. Manish Bariyar, 17%, more than 17% is the vote bank that Tejashwi Yadav is speaking to, and clearly he has a political plan this election.
Good evening to you, Krishna ji, and all my co-panelists. And I would also extend my greetings. Today is Pehli Arag. In my home also there is a Chhath which is celebrated. And to every citizen of this country. Having said that, I would say that Tejashwi ji mein ye औकात bhi nahi hai that wo central government bill he can, just like that he can throw into dustbin. One is reminded of his very good friend who once upon a time in front of a prime minister, threw that ordinance. So I always say, in fact, that's an example of bad behavior. I don't know how it has come, because constitutionally it is not possible, as you must have heard. So what we have understood is that this time he is under tremendous pressure that the chief minister, the deputy chief minister, that the Gadbandhan has announced that they have just 2.5%, and right. The minority community is very, very upset that as it is being said that Lalten ki jo batti hai, wo certain set of people are burning and then the entire kerosene is coming from the minority community. And he has become very, very nervous and upset. The minority community is also questioning that where are we in terms of empowerment? At least politically we should be empowered, and they have not been. So they have always been utilized like this, and that is one of the reason that under pressure he is speaking all this kind of a nonsense. But the people of Bihar, the people from minority community, Muslims, you cannot just hoodwink them like this. They understand that where this is coming from, and I'm sure that he's going to get a shock of his life in this election.
Okay, Advocate Mahima Singh, the Muslim vote bank has traditionally been with the Maha Gadbandhan, but is there uncertainty creeping into the Maha Gadbandhan, and that's the reason why you have Tejashwi Yadav promising things that he can't possibly do even if he comes to power?
Jai Hind, Krishna. In fact, it is quite laughable when the BJP spokesperson uses the word hoodwink, because hoodwinking is the BJP's culture, BJP's style of doing politics, and it is at their very core. And as far as the constitution is concerned, I mean, talks about constitution do not behove the BJP, because we have seen how the BJP has been insulting the constitution time and again. In fact, the very manner in which this bill was brought about and made into a law, and before that also we've been seeing expulsions of parliamentarians from the parliament, hundreds of parliamentarians made to stand out of the parliament protesting outside, while inside the parliament, the BJP keeps on bulldozing bills on this democracy. So you see, the BJP must not talk about constitution and hoodwinking and ethics.
Fair enough. Advocate Mahima Singh, let's stick to what we have on hand right now. You're talking about the Waqf Amendment Act.
I was in your report. I was listening to all the BJP leaders, and your BJP representative on your show. Of course, it is mandatory. It is inevitable to comment on all of that. But now coming back to what Tejashwi Yadav has said. You see, he was there as a deputy chief minister for 17 months. What he delivered for the youth of Bihar, for the people of Bihar, they remember it very well. And especially now when the BJP's vote chori is blatantly out for everybody to see. What Tejashwi Yadav also spoke about, Krishna, which you haven't shown in your report, is also about Seemanchal. He's also spoken about old age pension. He's also spoken about various issues in the state which should be highlighted today. Whether Waqf bill, will be implemented in the same manner, or the state will exercise its discretion to some extent, that is to be seen. And that, of course, when we form the government, we will of course show it to the country. But a BJP that promises, that comes together with the TDP in Andhra Pradesh, where 4% reservation for Muslims is granted, and the very BJP which otherwise scandalizes and trivializes minority and intimidates minority on all fronts, bulldozes their rights, has no right to comment on this today.
Okay, fair enough.
If Tejashwi Yadav has spoken, he's spoken with responsibility, he's spoken with a strategy in mind, and that is for all to see when we come to power.
Okay, let me begin Smita Mishra now into the conversation with Smita Mishra. One is, there is election posturing, there is electioneering, a lot that tends to get said during elections, but you're talking about something that's constitutionally not possible, not just in Bihar, but nowhere in India, a centrally passed law, a centrally passed amendment act, and here you are promising people who have been with you. I mean, the RJD would be better off, promising more tangible things that they can actually accomplish.
Yes, there are two aspects to this whole, announcement or statement that we heard. Let me tell you, it was done in a very interesting manner.
Okay.
There is an MLC of the RJD in Bihar. His name is Qari Shoaib. First, it was it's floated like a trial balloon. Qari Shoaib was made to give a statement where he said somewhere near Khagadia, where he said that when the Mahagathbandhan comes to power, this will be torn apart. And perhaps there was some response from the crowd, because such a statement, such hyperbole always attracts statement. I mean, it attracts some kind of traction, It's natural, it's human nature. So on the second day, the day after Qari Shoaib made the statement, Tejashwi Yadav, who was in a constituency near Katihar. Then he made the statement himself from the dais saying we will throw it into the dustbin. Now, I very clearly think that this sudden statement, which came at a time when they're just about to release their manifesto, so it could have been put in the manifesto in a very structured manner. The hurry to make this announcement was perhaps because the day Mukesh Sahni was announced, and we had a very wholesome discussion here on this show, if you remember, with Kartikeya Sharma. Since then, there has been a backlash of Muslims about the fact that they are only made to serve as workers while other people get representation, and we have gone enough into that. I don't want to revisit all that. So maybe there is a fear because the MY combination, the Muslims and Yadavs as of now seem to be the only solid vote bank of the Mahagathbandhan, is what I have gathered from my travels so far. So I think it was meant to stem that backlash, because very clearly the AIMIM went hammer and tongs, against it. And all their leaders started speaking simultaneously about how Muslims were being taken for granted, etc. And AIMIM is the only one which thinks of their welfare. So naturally, there must have been concern, and therefore this announcement. Now coming to the constitutional position, let me tell you one thing. Whether Muslim votes will gravitate towards the AIMIM and whether there will be any dent in the Muslim vote bank is something we have to wait. It's not something we can comment on in a day or two. We have to wait for things to heat up during the campaign before we make a comment. But on the constitutional position, it's very clear. Someone just commented here that there's so much happened when the bill was being passed. Yes, the bill was not passed peacefully. There was a lot that happened. First of all, there were very strong protests. Right. Then it was sent to the select committee, and the select committee went clause by clause, and some tweaking and amendments were also made in the original bill. Right. Even after the bill was passed, it went to Supreme Court, and there had to be some clarifications on certain provisions. However, be that as it may, after all those protests and legal challenge, today the constitutional position is that it is an act of parliament. Waqf, not exactly Waqf in so many words, but all these religious endowments and these subjects, they fall in the concurrent list. Okay. Now we know that in the concurrent list, states and the center both have powers to pass legislation. However, wherever there is a difference in that situation, then the constitution is very clear that the center will prevail. Right. On that provision, there are no two views. Fair enough. So I really don't think constitutionally how or in what manner it is possible to do it. It's quite untenable. So maybe but having said that, I think we will hear more of this from the RJD for the simple reason that till we come to that point where they come to government and scrap or don't scrap the bill, it's a good point to make politically for them. So maybe we will be hearing more about it.
We should be hearing more about it. Or Mrityunjay Sharma, this was because of the choice of the Deputy Chief Ministerial candidate, an outcome of that possibly. But the fact of the matter is that it is the Mahagathbandhan feeling the pressure because there are chances that the votes that they've always kept could be spilt this time around because you have another player in the mix like Prashant Kishore.
Exactly. So apart from the Sahni effect, which people have mentioned, I think a couple of other factors have played into this statement. First of all, it's Prashant Kishore, it's AIMIM and all those players who are vying for that same Muslim votes. And Mahagathbandhan knows, and specifically RJD knows, that it is their very core vote bank. So if that slips by, then it has got no chance to come into power. Second, I think there's a very internal kind of a dissension within Mahagathbandhan. You see, when the entire voter Adhikar Yatra started, it was the brainchild of Rahul Gandhi and Congress, and RJD kind of had to follow the lead. But within the entire voter Adhikar Yatra, what you see is Congress trying to appropriate that Muslim vote bank and come across as the primary so-called, benefactor of the Muslims in Bihar. So even within Mahagathbandhan, the RJD sees Congress as trying to pull away the Muslim votes from itself towards itself. Now, what has also happened that during this entire discussion on seat allocations, right? the Mahagathbandhan had gotten into a limbo almost in the last 10-15 days, as you see. Now, within those 10-15 days, an entire kind of narrative has been built in Bihar, which is to say that the Mahagathbandhan has kind of accepted a loss. They are nowhere in the race and so on. So it actually needed strong statements to be able to come back into news and thereafter to say that we are the prime contenders, right? I think this is one of those statements wherein they're trying to come back into light and to say we are the prime contenders against NDA. Whereas, let's say, Prashant Kishore says Jan Swaraj is going to be the second factor and so on. I think it is a very strong bid, a desperate bid on the behalf of Tejashwi Yadav. One, to consolidate that MY vote that it has always considered its own. And second, to say that, the media and the entire focus should be upon us and not the other fringe players that are in the Bihar election as of today.
Right, Advocate Nikhil Jain, could this end up backfiring against Tejashwi Yadav? Because, it won't be long before, people can figure out that he's promising something that he won't be able to deliver.
Absolutely not, Krishna. So what Tejashwi Yadav has said is he's made the political intentions of his party and his alliance very, very clear that the Waqf Amendment Act brought in by the central government in April this year is anti-constitutional. And it was Kiran Rijiju, the law minister of the country, who's just lying when ran that report. He said that the Supreme Court has validated the act. When did that happen? I could not read it. The Supreme Court has in fact stayed the provision that gave the power to the collector to decide whether a property is a property of the Waqf or a property of the government. It has stayed the provision that not stayed, but it has put a cap on the number of non-Muslim members you can have in the Waqf board. It has also made sure that the Waqf by user, the abolition of the Waqf by user principle, which is essentially a form of adverse possession, is something that is going to apply prospectively. So the court has not validated the act. The act is still under challenge before the Supreme Court. And so far as the legal basis for all of this is concerned, you're running on your side ticker that this is in violation of 254(1) of the Constitution. As a lawyer, I'd argue it is not, because 254(1) says that there should be no conflict between state laws and parliamentary laws. And whenever there is a conflict, the parliamentary law shall prevail. But that only applies to laws which the parliament has enacted, of which it is competent to enact. That is, either a law that concerns an entry in the union list or an entry in the concurrent list. But if you actually look at Waqf, the 7th schedule of the Constitution does not provide for Waqf in any of the 3 lists. It would either have to be taken as a charitable institution, in which case it becomes a part of the state list, or as a trust, in which case it becomes a part of the concurrent list. And an absolute conflict and a deviation are 2 things that have to be decided by the court. So Tejashwi Yadav can very well approach the court. He can very well come out with variations of the Waqf law, and that the Supreme Court can later on decide. So it is not like he cannot do anything at all. Let me also dispel the lies peddled by the BJP spokesperson on your show. The very good friend of Tejashwi Yadav that he was talking about, that very good friend never actually tore the papers. He never actually threw the papers. He just put out a copy of the papers and said this should be thrown in the dustbin, and that is his democratic right. That is what we expect out of democratic leaders, that when they feel that the parliament or the state legislature has done something wrong, that bill should be torn apart.
Krishna ji, I need to come in on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, my friend Nikhil ji is so right. Somebody who's a no one in the party, nobody, but that's what nepotism is all about. In front of camera, can humiliate the Prime Minister of this country, but it's quite okay with that. That is one. It doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock the citizens of the country, because this is what the so-called first family of this country has been doing to people ad nauseum. Right? So it is their right to insult the Prime Minister of this country, and that is why they have been rejected. That is one. Second, I'm very happy that Nikhil ji, my friend, today is not off color. Yesterday, I was not able to really understand what he was saying, but he's paid to lie. So I can't even say I'm surprised that he's lying on camera. Right? He talked about Kiran Rijiju is lying, I lying. Let me tell you, the first thing it said that this Waqf board has been rejected. The presumption of constitutionality of Waqf board has been done by Supreme Court of India. It noted that Parliament's legislature judgment is not easily overridden in social reform laws, and they have accepted it. So, he is just lying. I can tell you which are the areas where Supreme Court has said that we will consider. Now, is it not a fact that Supreme Court said that it has improved transparency and accountability? They accepted this and they did not really get into any amendment on that. Is it not a fact that Waqf board streamlines its governance, and what was wrong in that. Again, Supreme Court made it very clear this is not the area we would like to get into it.
Okay.
Does it not protect heritage sites? It does that. Does it not? And very importantly, Waqf by user. Right? This is also where there was a long dispute provision of Waqf by user. Here also, in fact, there is no change. It was upheld. So, he's lying on camera, and then it's so easy for him to lie. Obviously, as I said earlier, he gets paid for it. So he thinks that he can do it on camera also. And very importantly, there are some of the provisions which obviously are under consideration. But this Waqf board is a law, and he cannot just rubbish it like that. Now, if it is in the culture of Congress party to rubbish everything, that's a different thing altogether.
Okay. Nikhil Jain wants to respond, then we'll go to Mrityunjay Sharma. Quickly, Nikhil Jain.
Thank you so much. So first of all, the Supreme Court has not accepted anything, because whatever is accepted or rejected by the Supreme Court finds its way in the order of the court, and there is no permanent order or judgment in the case. The case is still sub judice. We need to understand that legal principle first. Number two, the Waqf
why did you say that it has been rejected by Supreme Court?
I said that it has been stayed by the Supreme Court. I did not say rejected.
It has not been. The constitutionality of that law has not been stayed. Please say that.
You do not challenge the entire constitutionality of the law. You challenge certain provisions of a statute, and the court decides on that.
The constitutionality of the law has not been challenged.
I did not say that.
Can change.
Okay, Mrityunjay Sharma wants to come in. Mrityunjay Sharma, please come in.
Can I just please complete my point? Just give me 10 seconds to complete my point. And the Waqf by user provision is very akin to the principle of adverse possession, wherein I am deemed to be the owner of the property if I've been using it unfettered for 12 years in the case of a property in the name of a private party, and 30 years in the case of a property in the name of a government party. Waqf by user is nothing but is the law of adverse possession, which applies across the country to everybody. Just to remove Waqf by user is actually nonsensical. You have so many mosques that are 400 years old. Who's going to produce the papers for that? You can't. You have to assume that it's a Waqf property.
Fair enough. Mrityunjay Sharma, you wanted to come in.
So as a matter of fact, the constitutionality of the Waqf bill was challenged in the Supreme Court, and it was said that it should be rejected in its entirety, the petition of which Supreme Court rejected actually. So we will have to be very clear on that fact. And then certain provisions of it were picked to be discussed, and which is sub judice. So let's not discuss on that. What I'm saying is, see, whenever you have a law passed in the parliament, we are a parliamentary democracy, right? And even after certain laws are passed, some of the people in the parliament may not be in sync with that. But that does not mean that you keep protesting against a law which has already been passed in the parliament. Then we do not have then what is the entire system of a collective, so as to say, parliamentary democracy wherein we pass laws?
Okay.
If we keep on saying that we are going to change laws after it is being passed, and again, the state does not have the authority to change what is being passed by the parliament, right? It is not a certain law in which needed state's ascension. So some of the laws in the concurrent list do need ascension by the states, half of the states for it to be turned into a law. This bill did not need that. So when it is coming to practice, every state, if they keep saying that it will change certain provisions or reject Tejashwi in fact said reject the bill in its entirety, which is, I would say, completely undemocratic and against a parliamentary democracy. We have to be very clear of that, and we should not be encouraging this at least.
Okay.
10 seconds, Krishna ji. 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah. Three things. Who put emergency? So when my Congress friend was talking about constitution, let me remind emergency, let me remind Shah Bano case and the number of Article 356 they have put. They do not have even the locus standi to talk about constitution of this India or of this country. Right? They have murdered constitution of this country number of times, but look at what kind of impunity they come and lecture us about.
Advocate Mahima Singh, quickly, 10 seconds with you. 10 seconds.
No, it's injustice to give me 10 seconds to respond to this brazen charge, which they keep on coming back with. A party which has put this country through undeclared emergency for the last 11 years, wherein unconstitutional electoral bonds were brought in. They have been winning elections through unconstitutional, electoral bonds, wherein this party has actually, been running this country, bulldozing parliamentary practices. I mentioned it earlier, and I'll mention it again, Krishna.
Okay, fair enough.
In the parliament, during the JPC, multiple objections were raised when clause by clause discussion happened. Multiple objections were raised, but those objections again were bulldozed, and the law was brought in
Okay, we're really out of time over here. Smita Mishra, I wanted to give a last comment from you quickly. Which way is the wind blowing as far as the Muslim vote bank is considered?
Declared emergency.
Because you have more than 2 players at this stage.
Declared emergency is the right of
Smita Mishra, please, requesting
the wind is
everybody.
blowing has become very clear today itself. And you must have seen since this morning, the AIMIM has started saying that Tejashwi Yadav's statement, which has come now, is actually very late, because much earlier their legislator had already torn the bill in Parliament. So the point I'm trying to make is now on scrapping the Waqf Act, there is going to be a lot of competitive statement bazi. You will be seeing all those claimants of the Muslim vote bank trying to outdo each other in saying we will scrap the bill or we will scrap the bill. And lot of finger pointing which started already since last evening about you didn't do enough to stop it, and why X saying you didn't do enough and Y saying you didn't do enough. Just to reiterate what I placed earlier, the Waqf has now become a subject of campaign in the Bihar elections. That said, I don't know if it will swing the Muslim vote even 0.5% on any side. However, there will be a lot of competitive statements now on scrapping the Waqf, and you will be seeing that this time round there is some sense of being jittery, some nervousness in the two claimants of the Muslim vote bank who have been getting the votes previously. But this time, because of certain developments, there seems to be a kind of worry, and I will not be surprised if after the Waqf, some other issue related to the Muslim community is raised similarly, just because people are now trying to outdo each other in that segment.
That's right.
Let's also ask the BJP about the 4% Muslim reservation in Andhra Pradesh, Krishna. It would only be fair to ask them because their alliance partner TDP grants 4% Muslim reservation in Andhra Pradesh. The BJP came together in that promise, and elsewhere in the country they were antagonizing the minority communities.
This
is the BJP's true character.
We really are completely out of time here. I'm afraid.
News now, Krishna ji, you have a breaking news that Congress party opposes Muslim reservations in Andhra Pradesh.
We are questioning the BJP.
I'm afraid we're completely out of time. We are requesting. We can continue doing this for a very long time, but I'm afraid we're completely out of time over here. I'm going to thank all the panelists, Manish Bariyar of the BJP, Advocate Mahima Singh of the Congress Party, Mrityunjay Sharma, author and political analyst, Advocate Nikhil Jain, and Smita Mishra, senior journalist. Thank you all of you for taking time out. This was our On Point 1. Our On Point 2 is on the Supreme Court of India pulling up states on India's stray dog menace. But that is coming up after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Keep it with News 9.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Associate sponsor. Ever ready, give me power, give me red. आप हमें जानते नहीं पर मानते हैं.
बढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया.
लास्ट टाइम कश्मीर गई थी ना, वहाँ खाया शहद, पर उसके लिए कश्मीर जाना पड़ेगा. अरे कश्मीर क्यों जाना, कश्मीर ही यहाँ आ गया.
सुंदर वादियों में महकती खुशबू और रंग बिरंगे फूल, इनमें से शहद निकाल कर जमा किया जाता है असली शहद, लायन कश्मीर हनी.
असली शहद, असली स्वाद.
The GOAT or Macross satire is back. Cyrus Roja. From politics to pop culture, from your WhatsApp forwards to breaking news, nothing and no one is safe.
Relax, guys, relax. I only roast the truth, and the truth is always hilarious. Too much pressure.
Get ready for news caustic, bold, sharp, unfiltered, 100% Cyrus.
Look, this investment Guru's tips will double your money. Just claim the offer.
Double your money from any random group. Pay attention. Promising double returns, they'll lure you in tight. Unverified groups will send fake tips overnight, emptying your pockets before you can fight.
Well said, well said, well said.
SEBI and NSE advise consult only SEBI registered advisors and make payments only to verified accounts or UPI IDs. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
You are watching News 9. I am Krishna Kumar. Our On Point 2 is on the stray dog menace that continues to haunt India from one part of India to the other despite the Supreme Court's rulings. The top court of the country has pulled up the centre and the states for inaction on India's stray dogs menace. The judges noted that incidents involving stray dogs continued across the country despite repeated directions. In Monday's order, a 3-judge Supreme Court bench comprising Justices Vikram Nath, Sandeep Mehta and N.V. Anjaria said that India's stray dog problem was showing the country in a bad light abroad.
पिछली बार जो 3 चीजें कही थी उसमें एक कहा था स्टरलाइजेशन वैक्सीनेशन का काम जोरों से होना चाहिए, दूसरा कहा था कुत्तों को डेजिग्नेटेड प्लेस पे ही खिलाया जाएगा, इनको अपार्टमेंट्स में, सोसाइटीज में, सड़कों पर नहीं खिलाया जा सकता, डेजिग्नेटेड प्लेस बनेंगे और केवल वहीं खिलाएगा। और जो काटने वाले कुत्ते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा एग्रेसिव जो कुत्ते हैं, उनको बाड़ों में बंद किया जाएगा। इस पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आज सभी राज्यों से कंप्लायंस रिपोर्ट मांगी, पर आप देखिए राज्यों की लापरवाही देखिए, 3 राज्यों को छोड़कर किसी भी राज्य ने कंप्लायंस रिपोर्ट नहीं दी। तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आज आवारा कुत्तों के मामले के अंदर बेहद नाराजगी व्यक्त की है और इनको कहा है 3 तारीख को आप सभी चीफ सेक्रेटरी प्रेजेंट होंगे यहां पर और सभी की कंप्लायंस रिपोर्ट आनी चाहिए और अगर नहीं आई तो नाराजगी व्यक्त की जाएगी।
Now, the court said, and I quote here, continuous incidents are happening and your country is shown in a bad light at international platforms. Notices were issued to all states/UTs or union territories. Your officers don't read newspapers or social media. That was Justices Vikram Nath, Sandeep Mehta and N.V. Anjaria in court. The Supreme Court coming down heavily on states and union territories except Telangana and West Bengal, questioning why other states had not filed their compliance affidavit on the earlier order of the top court. A bench of Justices J.P. Pardiwala and R. Mahadevan passed an order on the 11th of August this year directing Delhi's municipal authorities to start rounding up stray dogs, especially from vulnerable areas, and to set up shelters for at least 5,000 dogs within 8 weeks. The order also required sterilization, vaccination and deworming of the dogs and prohibited their release back to the streets. It further asked that shelters be equipped with CCTVs, staff, food and medical care. The court directed the chief secretaries of all the states and union territories except West Bengal and Telangana to appear before it on the 3rd of November. Now, a 3-judge bench pointing out that only the MCD and states of West Bengal and Telangana have filed their compliance and saying that last week in Telangana, a child was severely attacked by a herd of stray dogs in Warangal's Shampet area, bear in mind, prompting outrage at the municipal body from local residents who rushed the victim to treatment. The present monitoring stems from the court's August 22nd order that stayed an earlier August 11 directive of a 2-judge bench barring the release of sterilized and vaccinated dogs, which the 3-judge bench said seems too harsh. The court clarified that in line with the ABC rules, dogs picked up by authorities must be sterilized, vaccinated and released back into the very same locality with exceptions for rabid, suspected rabid and aggressively behaving animals. The scope was expanded to pan-India. Let's now take a look at the extent of India's stray dog menace. India, bear in mind, has the world's largest stray dog population, 1.5 crores plus of stray dogs across the country. More than 37 lakh dog bite cases were reported in the year 2024 alone. 54 deaths due to rabies was reported in 2024. The World Health Organization says that India accounts for 36% of global rabies deaths. That's 1/4, more than, much more. Nearly 40% of global rabies deaths, 2/5. 30 to 60% of rabies victims in India are under 15 years of age. The numbers keep getting grimmer, and the story keeps getting worse and worse. Let's now bring in the conversation on what can be done, what needs to be done in this situation. The Supreme Court pulling up the states and union territories and asking for clarity as to when they will be filing their affidavits. Shalini Agarwal, animal activist and advocate, Supreme Court of India. We have B.S. Vora, President, East Delhi RWA Joint Front, also with us. Thank you for being with us. Let me begin by asking Shalini Agarwal. The Supreme Court of India is very clear in this time around that all of this news that we're seeing, these repeated clips of a pack of stray dogs attacking little children forming nearly 60% of the victims. It's absolutely terrible. And this is the reason why you needed these affidavits to be filed, active, proactive measures to be taken by states and union territories. And the Supreme Court is absolutely making sure that this time around there is no looking away.
You're right. And this is why we must look at the core issue. If I can just put some facts on record, let's take the example of MCD, ABC program being carried out by MCD in Delhi. MCD has 20 ABC centers in its jurisdiction. Only 9 of them have project recognition till date. Rule 3 of the ABC rules mandate that each ABC center must have a project recognition from the Animal Welfare Board of India, which is a statutory body under the central government. However, till date, 11 ABC centers don't have it. And this is despite a direction in the year 2023 by the Delhi High Court. The MCD stands in contempt. But anyways, moving to the next point, the ABC rules also say under Rule 13 that MCD has to give and all local authorities have to submit monthly progress reports and annual progress reports. You can check with, you can file an RTI and find out that till date, 0 monthly progress reports and annual reports have been submitted by MCD to the board. Rule 12 provides a set of records that have to be maintained while doing ABC. If you visit any ABC center, you'll realize that leave the infrastructure aside. None of the ABC centers have any records that are to be maintained in terms of Rule 12. Now, these are just a couple of examples. I have myself established this under RTI that you do MCD in one center without naming it. It claims to do 3,500 sterilizations in a month. While the number of vaccines that it bought for the last 1 year, and I will not tell the exact year or the name of the center, but just 1,000 units of vaccine. How do you do that impossible task? So this clearly shows that the more than 7 lakh sterilizations that MCD claims to do till date is just on paper. So
Mr. B.S.
This
Vora,
is why we need the compliance affidavits of the states to come.
Right, Mr. B.S. Vora, clearly there is a lack of resource issue when it comes to this being dealt with by the authorities that continues to plague. The reason why you're not saying coordinated action from across the board, across states and union territories.
See, I will start by saying that it's not just India being shown in bad light abroad or worldwide. We must also consider the pain and mental trauma of the 37 lakh dog bite victims every year, as well 18 to 20,000 deaths, out of which 99% are due to dog bites, as per WHO. Yes, court has rightly said that we must talk about humans also, cruelty to humans also, and serious steps must be taken. But the point is, what has been done in the last 8 weeks? Where are the governments? Where are the state governments? Where are the UTs? Why no action has been taken? Why they have not filed any compliance report? And if West Bengal, Telangana and MC Delhi has filed the report, what they have mentioned it, we must come to know. What action has been taken by them? Why they are not taking proper action? Because on the ground in Delhi, I have not seen anything being done. That's very open to everyone. So what action has been taken by them? How many feeding spots have been decided by them, how many stray dogs have been sheltered by them due to their aggressive behavior. Is there any report? Is there any action? Is there anyone there to reply to answer to the public or to the court? That's why court has come forward to and has sent a notice to all. Let's see what happens on 3rd November.
Okay, 3rd November will be a day of reckoning, isn't it, Shalini Agarwal? Because, there is no back and forth on this matter anymore. There needs to be coordinated action between the centre and the states. Every state needs to be proactive in doing what needs to be done. We do not want to be running these red circled visuals like this again and again on television news channels. And that is the reason why, anybody looking at, the top headlines coming out of India, they will see a dog bite case, on an every alternate day basis. And that's the kind of image that gets built eventually. And that is what the Supreme Court is talking about.
Very good point about the coordination between centre and the states. Let me give you an example. On 7th of March 2024, the Director General of Health Services, Government of India, came out with a directive directing all government hospitals, primary health centres, community health centres to properly and separately record the data with respect to dog bites and pet dog bites and stray dog bites, and also avoid recording multiple entries of one dog bite. How many states have till date implemented it? In my knowledge, only state of UP.
Okay, fair enough. We will leave it at that. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us, Shalini Agarwal and B.S. Vora on this On Point. And with that, that is the end of On Point 2. On Point 3 is on Bangladesh's Muhammad Yunus's controversial gift to a Pakistani general, but that is coming up after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
बढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
विक्रम चाहे जितना भी फड़फड़ा ले, ढूंढ नहीं पाएगा।
प्रिया, कैसा लगा मेरा स्टंट?
एक हिंट तो देते। हिंट।
बड़े आराम से।
मेरी बेटी के अभी से बाल झड़ रहे हैं, मैं क्या करूं?
2 स्पून ही काफी है। लायन डेट सिरप, इसमें आयरन, फाइबर्स, विटामिन्स और किसी भी बीमारी से लड़ने की ताकत बहुत ज्यादा है। आयरन यानी बाल झड़ने से रोकथाम। रोजाना 2 स्पून लायन डेट सिरप हल्के गर्म दूध में भी मिलाकर पी सकते हैं। लायन डेट सिरप रोजाना 2 स्पून।
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection.